After recently leaked footage from internal meetings, it shows how Disney is focusing on the creation of content to expose children to sexuality and queerness. Now, the Trafalgar Group asked if the latest revelations made people more or less likely to want to do business with Disney. Not surprisingly, a majority, almost 70%, 68.2%, said they were less likely. And I want to get your sense on this. If you would like to take the poll and let us know what you're thinking, what is your response to Disney aggressively opposing parental rights and pledging to promote transgenderism in their programs and their amusement parks? Text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to 67742. That's the word poll to 67742. And let us know if this is having an impact on how you view Disney. Do we have our next guest? Okay. And we're actually going to be joined here in just a moment by Margaret Olohan, who is a reporter at the Daily Wire who's been writing about this and has heard from many parents on how they are responding to Disney. Mary Margaret, welcome to Washington Watch. Can you tell us what you've been hearing from parents across the nation?
With how Disney has chosen to handle this episode of Florida trying to take parents' rights into their own hands and trying to give parents the empowerment to take care of their own children's education and to decide what is best for their kids. I spoke with a lot of different parents who told me that they're no longer going to be going to Disney. In fact, they're going to take their business elsewhere. And these parents are incredibly upset. They're not only canceling their Disney trips and their vacations, they're also canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, is what they told me. Some of these people told me they've been going to Disney for their entire lives. And one man told me he worked there when he was in college to pay for college. He would take his fiance there. They had all kinds of subscriptions and fast passes and whatnot. And then they ultimately decided not to pay for anything anymore due to how Disney handled coronavirus restrictions and then how Disney handled Florida's parental rights and education bill.
So does the results from the Trafalgar Group's poll showing that 68.2% of voters say that they are less likely to do business with Disney, does that surprise you at all?
Not at all. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is about children, and there are many political issues that Americans will disagree over on both sides of the aisle, be it the border wall or abortion. But when it comes to your children, parents are a lot more unified, I think, in knowing that, no, you want to be able to control what your children are being taught. And the idea that Disney has some kind of agenda that they would like to teach your children something, whether or not that doesn't sit well with American parents.
Well, it doesn't seem that Disney is getting that message, because according to a report from CNBC, Disney is planning to air a new PSA that has been produced by GLAAD, one of the big promoters of an LGBT agenda, that features the mother of a transgender teen who accuses lawmakers of trying to, quote, tear my family apart, end quote. I mean, is Disney tone deaf? What's happening?
I mean, that sounds pretty tone deaf to me. This is not a message that has already resonated with Americans, as we were just talking about. Americans aren't happy with this type of language. They're canceling their subscriptions and their trips, and they're becoming increasingly frustrated with this type of terminology. I mean, if you look at what happened in Virginia, we were in sort of the same situation during the gubernatorial election, where a lot of people thought that Terry McAuliffe would kind of skate into the governor's seat as a Democrat. And then amidst all this talk about education, he had to go and say that parents didn't have the right to decide what their children should be taught. Well, that pretty much won the election for Governor Youngkin.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this translated across the country as parents kind of speak up, finally, just this parental rebellion against woke ideology in this way. So I would be concerned if I were Disney and they continued on in this fashion, because we have already seen it demonstrated that parents don't sit well. This doesn't sit well with parents.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Of course, Disney being just the latest example of woke corporate America, but when you have a company that's focused on entertaining children, it makes it all the more poignant when you're talking about people's children. Mary Margaret, thanks so much for joining us. Great to talk with you. Appreciate the coverage you're giving this issue.
Oh, thank you. This was wonderful.